In this video, I'm going to talk about this bike frame that I'm building, and Zack, who's behind the camera, my employee, he's going to talk about this bike frame that he's building. We'd like to have some projects going after hours when we can get to them. So this is my bike and his bike. We're going to show you all the little details of the frames and how the projects are going. So this here, the fixture is like the latest iteration of our creator frame building fixture, which is nice. It's got all the newest little details and rear end stuff and knobs. And in this, for the last well over a month, I've been building a bike frame for my girlfriend. It's kind of a back burner project. And so anyway, it's pretty simple. It's a flat bar, commuter, hybrid bicycle. It's just gonna have repurposed parts from a different bike that I had that I'm letting her ride, and it just doesn't fit. So what a good opportunity to make a new frame. Kind of funny thing about frame building for me is that in the beginning I wanted to make really, really nice bikes, and over time I kind of got tired of all the hassle that goes into like rounding up really nice parts, and it's a lot of effort to finish a nice build with every last component. Not to mention in the pandemic, it's become difficult to source bike components at all. And so to me, it's almost relaxing to just throw together a really practical like hybrid bike or single speed or city bike, or just like that kind of makes it more fun for me, is to focus on the frame and making sure that the bike is good, and just throwing on like whatever parts work to make like a solid bicycle. And so this is going to be kind of a lackluster build, but quality where it counts. It's just TIG welded 4130. I had some double butted tubes. This is a 969 True Temper tube. Now True Temper hasn't been making bike tubing for nearly 5 years, but I just had some of this in my stockpile. I believe the top tube is also True Temper. This is straight gauge tube. And if you're buying straight gauge 4130, you might pick it up from Wix or from Aircraft Spruce or from a number of places. I actually bought this from McMaster Car. I think it's a little bit more expensive, but it's much easier to order. I order from McMaster Car all the time. They have a lot of different sizes of 4130 tubing. You just order it, shows up the next day, cut it to length. This is a seat collar that I got from Paragon Machine Works. So it's 1¼ or 31.8 millimeters on the outside, and it's 27.2 millimeters on the inside. This is a Paragon Machine Works 68 millimeter bottom bracket shell. This I think is a head tube stock that came from Nova Cycle Supply. That's 34 millimeters on the inside nominally. I think it's a little bit undersized actually. So that it'll clean up when you go to ream it with your head tube reamer. And the outside of it is 36 millimeters, I believe, or 37 even, somewhere in there. And so I didn't bother making it all fancy. If you watch the mountain bike build series, I actually took a Paragon Machine Works CNC machined head tube, and then I turned it on my manual lathe, basically just to make some cosmetic changes. I didn't get that fancy this time. So this is the front end of the bike. And then apart from just the basics here, I just drilled water bottle boss holes, and that's about it. There's really not a whole lot going on. The tubes are all straight, and the tubes basically intersect the other tubes on the center line. So, sometimes you might offset your down tube down past the center line of the bottom bracket, or you might, do a curved top tube or whatever. And I really haven't done any of that weirdo stuff. It's just like a simple and solid bicycle, and it's for the joy of making the bikes.
Hey there, I'm Zack. I've been working for Joe since the beginning of the year, helping him out, building the frame fixtures, producing parts, making tools, helping him film some of this content, and I finally got myself a bike that I'm building here. I've assembled over 35 of these fixtures now probably at this stage, but I haven't had a chance to build a bike on one myself, so I haven't had a hardtail in a while, so I decided I wanted to build up a hardtail for myself. And so I got a chance to get some use on the fixture, got to get to know the toob bender a little bit, trying to get to know a handful of the different tools that we actually make here. So what I've got, it's going to be 130 millimeter travel steel hardtail. Nothing too crazy. It is going to be fairly long, but nothing too radical. Should just be a good all-around trail bike for me to kind of complement some of my other longer travel bikes. Want something with a lot of standover, something that's going to be kind of fun to kind of throw around, do some manuals, and kind of jib around on as well as actually do some trail riding. Really wanted to kind of incorporate more use of the tube bender on this one, so I did the kind of the weird bent down tube, avoiding a lot of the straight tubes on this one, and using the offset seat tube. Kind of trying to utilize more of the features that are built into the jig and built into the tools that we have, just to get to know them better. I think this should be a pretty fun bike. Going to be boost spacing, just pretty standard mountain bike, nothing too out of the ordinary.
So this is the first time I've been fabricating a bike frame in the Creator. In years past, when I was an aspiring frame builder, I built without a fixture for a long time. Then I built myself an earlier frame fixture that I showed in my YouTube series of building that hardtail mountain bike and all that. And that's actually a similar fixture to this, but it was all manually machined. It was a lot more crude. And so I knew from using that one roughly what I could expect from this, but it was different. And to use this highly refined and nice fixture, everything is like rounded over on the corners and anodized. It actually slides smoothly and things are like calibrated better. It's a different experience for sure. And like we have all the different bottom bracket adapters. Like everything has been kind of poured over and refined. And so, as the first time actually slapping a bike together on this myself, it was pretty satisfying. Now, through the development phase, I was scrutinizing details, and I had sent it out to other frame builders, like the early adopters that I sent it to, and I got lots of feedback from them. But to use it myself was pretty cool. More recently, I've been adding some details to the frame fixture. So you can see this picture of my dog. I added this clipboard holder. I CNC machined this like aerospace-looking part, and I put a clipboard holder on here. Not really to hold your dog photo, but to hold your setup notes, So you might have information about how long the tubes are miter to miter, and where to set the different coordinate positions of your fixture based on bike CAD outputs, or any other information you want. And when I made this clipboard holder, I thought, on the one hand, this probably would be useful, and on the other hand, it's like, come on, like, do we really need to go to these lengths to do this? Similarly, I had made this 3D printed holder on the back of the fixture that holds a retractable blue Sharpie, and it holds the 6mm wrench that you might use to loosen up the bottom bracket, right? And I remember as I was making this, I'm like, this is really cool, but like, come on, do I really need this? Well, as I started building, I was like constantly looking for everything. I like, where's my machinist square? Like where's my Sharpie? Oh, my Sharpie is right here, thank God. Or I would take it and actually set it down somewhere else. And so I was like trying to practice always reflexively putting it back. I was finding very quickly that these things were actually really helpful, and I wished I had more of them. And I think that was a really good experience for me, getting to know the fixture, is that the stuff that I had refined was quite refined and worked sort of the way I expected it, but that frame building is a task that requires a lot of little steps and a lot of different tools. And so the more that you can be organized in your work zone, and the more my cordless drill is right here, and my little punch thing for these is right here, and like every tool that you want, your digital calipers are right here. If you know right where everything is and you keep an organized workspace, things go easier. And so I think I'm going to add even more of these. I have ideas actually for other organizational stuff that'll be baked into the tool, that for a reasonable cost you can add those on, or they'll be built into the fixture, and it just allows you to keep your workspace tidy and more organized. So that's something that I really appreciated about using this so far. And then I can't wait to tear into the rear end, because I poured over this so much, and we have all these different add-ons and helpers, and they're there to like help hold the tubes and make all that stuff go more smoothly.
So now that I've gotten my hands on this fixture and been able to start building on it, there's been a handful of things that have been super, super nice. Love having the C-tube offset. It makes doing that much simpler. It allows me to do more of an aggressive mountain bike with a bent C-tube, and be able to kind of get that to where you have more clearance for the rear wheel to do some shorter stays. And it keeps it simple. Using bike CAD and all the outputs from there, it was really, really nice to set it up, get all your fixed positions, and then work from there. On this bike, I'm actually doing it entirely by hand with the grinder and files. So it's been awesome just being able to set the jig to what I needed to, and then fit my tubes I've got a little bit of work I've been doing with these holders, kind of playing around with them. This is super handy actually to use as kind of a platform when I was fitting my top tube, because I could bring it up and set it so that my tube was resting on the plate, so I could help get my angle, set my point where I was going to be actually tacking the tube in place. It was nice for holding on to that. But even more so, I found it handy on the down tube. Doing the bent down tube here made it so where my joint actually happened lower on the bottom bracket. So it didn't really want to click into place as much because it would just kind of fall out the bottom. So I actually was able to figure out that if I brought this down, not only does this V-notch in the holder help keep your tube centered, that I would be able to kind of use these hair ties and M6 bolts, and that would actually kind of help hold and position my tube while I'm doing my tacking up of the frame and making sure that my fit up and everything looks good before I actually get into welding. So far it's been great to use. I'm looking forward to seeing what the other rear end holders are going to be like for me. Hopefully be getting into a little bit of that tonight. But yeah, should be. It's been so far. It's been a great jig to work with, and the tools have been great. So
It's pretty sweet that we have these tools around in the shop, and we built these up. Zack's was specifically all like blemish parts that we didn't want to ship to customers, and this is actually a pretty nice one. But we have these around, and we can build bikes, after hours for ourselves because we enjoy this. It's nice making these kinds of things, but we get to know the product better. Follow along, hit that like and subscribe so that you can watch us as we continue to make some content about building bikes again. For like the first time in 2 years, we're going to be uploading some videos about actually building bikes. Is it going to be pretty sick, would you say?
oh, it's going to be sick.
I think it's going to be pretty sick, and I can't wait to see this bike get built up. This one is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, hit the like and subscribe, drop a comment about what we should build next, and we'll see you on the next one, won't we?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Stay tuned.